So good morning. Morning, Raja.
Morning, Clive.
Great to see you. Great to see you. So listen, obviously I've got your book, which is an incredible book. I've got a few questions to ask, not just about your book, but also about you really, because I'm fascinated how someone like you, a top marketer in the industry, thinks, how you learn, and also what it inspired you. So maybe that's a good space to start, is what inspired you to write this book?
So my grandfather had written a book. My father had written a book. Therefore, the pressure was on me also to write a book. Both of them had written. My grandfather had written on the lake poets in England. And my father had written about a whole bunch of things around Shakespeare's plays and his philosophy and so on. And I don't have those same level of skills in English literature or poetry. So I went to marketing. And during COVID, my travels had completely come to a grinding halt. So I said I should utilize it maybe to study something. So even while I was studying, I said, this is probably the best time for me to write a book. And it took me about 3.5 weeks to write the book.
Wow.
And I finished it. And it took a while for the publisher to publish the book. It took probably several months. And eventually the book came out, and I'm very happy that it became a Wall Street Journal bestseller. It had won 6 international book awards, and it's been now published in 11 languages around the world and become a bestseller in multiple countries as well.
Amazing.
So I feel very good about it.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
So how did it only take you 3.5 weeks to write a book? Because most people, it takes much, much longer.
Yeah, see, I think I found a nice hack, which I came up with myself. I think my first probably 3-4 days was focusing on what this book is going to be about, roughly the titles or the topics, and the themes that I would like to cover. So once I had that kind of a skeleton very broadly, I would take the first section or first theme and say, okay, let me pretend that I am giving a lecture on this from the stage. So I would take my phone, I would go for a long walk of 2-3 hours, and I'm giving a lecture to myself into my phone. And I had a software at the time. This is pre-Gen AI. It was called Otter. So Otter.ai would transcribe all my speeches into written text. So I would come back home, have a nice wash. By then the whole compilation has happened. I would come in, I would edit it. So one chapter is done. And so once I have got those chapters, so that took about 2.5 weeks or so, all the chapters were done. Every day I was doing it very methodically and religiously. And once I had, then it was a question of which is the right sequencing of the topics, and if there are some gaps, or if I have to add some bridges from one chapter to another. That took a little while, and that's it.
So this book obviously is very future thinking. The fact that you read it in 3 weeks meant that you'd been thinking about it for some time, because there's an awful lot of information in here that is very future thinking. Tell me about the way you managed to distill and bring together that future thinking.
So I have, by nature, I'm very curious, and I'm always trying to see what is coming next. And I attend a lot of events where they're talking about the future and what kind of technologies will come up, how the world will change, and so on. And I listen to those, I feel very inspired, and I start thinking about what impact does it have on marketing? How can I leverage those technologies, and so on and so forth. So it's been a long time that I have been thinking about various technologies and various sociological changes, cultural changes, the kind of data transformation that is happening. And all this put together, I think I brought it to life, so to speak, in the book, but these have been always swirling in my head. And even now, for example, and I'm hoping to write a second book sometime in the near future, but I know exactly what I'm going to write about and what topics I should be covering. And probably, I think it'll take me about less than 4 weeks, I would say, to cover that, do that book.
So it makes you, an unbelievable observer, really. Would you agree?
I do observe, but I think more than that, I am a good student.
Right.
And, anyone, if they are willing to teach me, I immediately go and do that. I spend about 5 to 6 hours every weekend trying to learn something new. And, during my days as a student, we didn't have the kind of resources that are available today. And today you go to any Coursera course or you look at any of the various newsletters that come out, there's so much amount of good content that is available. And so I just keep diving into each one of those and try to learn and figure out. And if it interests me enough, then I even take courses around each one of those to, I would not say become a subject matter expert, but become more than just a person who has a passable working knowledge. I would like to really do a lot more digging than that.
And what have you, since you've written this book, obviously your fame and your level of profile has increased massively in the industry. What have you observed about yourself?
So a few quick things. So the first thing is, when you write the book, you are making a commitment.
Yeah.
You are standing by your book and by your words that you have written. There are the concepts. So one of the things I felt very good about is, for example, I wrote a full chapter on AI and said, this is going to be the single biggest change agent that's going to come upon us. It'll totally transform everything that we do. And a whole chapter dedicated to it. At the time, there was no Gen AI. So even before AI became such a wildly popular kind of a topic since last October or November, I had been ahead of the curve. So that makes me feel good saying that, okay, I got it right. And so a lot of times I've been asked saying that, would you really change your book? Now you know what you know. The answer is no, because it's exactly the things that I've said are materializing. So it's more a validation of my hypothesis, which I feel very good about. That's one part. The second thing is, when you make some strong, provocative statements, people get provoked and then they comment. So you should have the spine and the substance to stand by what you have written or what you have said. So for example, in this book, I have written many things like, I said, loyalty is a myth.
Yeah.
But the industry spends $1 trillion every year behind loyalty programs, which is a complete waste of money. So a lot of people say, no, we don't agree with you. I said, come, let's have a debate. And I did. And this is my conviction very clearly that in personal lives, people are not loyal. An overwhelming 85% of the people are not hardwired for loyalty in their personal lives. Brands are so low in their priority and hierarchy. And if we expect that we will give 1 mile for every dollar you spend or 1 reward point and expect them to be loyal, you're kidding yourself. You need to reinvent the entire paradigm of how you run preference programs, not loyalty programs.
So you think that's old world thinking? New world is that consumers are far more promiscuous.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. Just look at anyone. How many airline programs are you a member of? How many hotel programs are you a member of? Who are you loyal to? It's a matter of convenience. It's a matter of context. It's a matter of pricing. So don't mistake that to be loyalty. And when you do that, what you do is you reinvent your whole approach in a very different way, reimagine it. And you build your technology stacks which deliver to that new vision as opposed to stuck in the old world kind of a thing. Same thing, advertising. So I said advertising as we know it is dead. The concept of the funnel is completely it's nonsensical. So there are some very provocative things that I have stated there, and I stand by them.
And just want to talk about you and your leadership, because obviously, when you write something as profound as this, presumably it also changes you as a leader and the way you interact with your team and maybe your peers in the business. What's happened from that perspective?
See, it's interesting. It's the same Raja before writing the book and after writing a successful book, if I may say so. The credibility, however, jumps. And particularly when you get something like a Wall Street Journal bestseller, so it's like an external validation, and people will start giving you a lot more credence than otherwise, which is very interesting. So one of the things I started doing is to really teach my team, to be a teacher to the team, a coach as opposed to a boss. I also do exactly the same thing with my C-suite peers. And I try to not be in a kind of a pedantic style, but try to sort of tell them, hey, this is how marketing is. This is what marketing is. And I have got some phenomenal, meaningful sessions with my CEO now, who is become a huge fan of marketing. And when you get the support of your CEO for marketing, that's a dream of a CMO, because you get the freedom, you get the flexibility, and you got a system that believes in you, that believes in the impact that you're creating with your team. for your function and for the company in total. And that's been very rewarding. So I think basically what the book has done for me is to make that journey, which anyway was inevitable, a lot more accelerated and far more easier.
And how much, in an organization, you're part of a team. So whilst it's hugely positive, the impact that some of this thinking and writing can have on the rest of the team to elevate them, the other challenge is, if one person outshines other people, it can be disruptive as well. How's that dynamic as far as, you and the team that you and your peers that you work with?
Fortunately, that had not been a concern at all, right? And one of the beautiful things about this company, Mastercard, that I work for, it is very collegial, very, very collegial. And we all have common objectives. So if one of us is succeeding more, it elevates all of us because our compensation structure, our reward structure, recognition, everything is tied together as a team. So nobody would grudge that you are doing better than me or so-and-so is doing. So there is no real scope in a material sense for any jealousy. And if somebody is doing good, that's fantastic because all of us rise with the tide. And if each one is contributing to that tide rising, that's fantastic. And it's not like, the rest of the team is mediocre or anything of that sort. Everyone in their respective fields extremely high in terms of competencies, in terms of the profiles that they have got, the experience that they have got. So it's been working fantastic. Just imagine the average tenure of a CMO these days is 2.5 years. I have completed 11 years and I'm still going, right? So that itself is an indication, on the one hand that we are delivering. And secondly, I'm enjoying as well. Otherwise, for me, finding a job would not be difficult. Yeah. But the fact that the company is so good and it's so rewarding, gratifying. And so from that point of view, it's been working very well.
Congratulations. And so just finally, so your team, how big's your team?
My team would be about 800 people.
Okay. And do you believe in the concept that 20% of your team are sort of outliers? They are challenging convention, they're future thinking, they're really helping lead the organization. 60% of people sort of, I'm going to pay them a disrespect, turn up every day and do a great job, and 20% are laggards. They're not keeping up. How do you structure your team? And then you talked about coaching and developing your team. What's the sort of, how do you do that?
See, if you look at the field of marketing, it has got so many different areas. And in each area, we managed to get the best in class, world-class talent in every single area. If you look at consumer insights, or if you look at communications as in PR, but we call it communications because it includes all external and internal communications. Or you look at brand, or you look at consumer marketing, you look at B2B marketing, product marketing, sponsorships. Every single one of these areas, we have handpicked, nurtured, and sort of groomed people to take over those various roles. So you cannot combine the whole thing as one marketing and say 20% are like this and 20% like this. Each individual area is fairly small in terms of number of people. On the one hand, you got this subset of marketing, plus you got the geographies across the world. Yeah. Right. So every country, like whether it is India or China or Brazil, Germany, UK, all these countries. So I've got relatively skeletal teams, very small teams in each one of these countries. When you aggregate them, it becomes an 800 people team. But 800 on one hand might seem to be big, but 800 for a global company is not really big at all. So we're a lean company, lean team, but extremely high performing. And those typical percentages that you see at an aggregate level won't apply here because I cannot afford to have somebody who is suboptimal or subpar. If they are running, say, for example, United Arab Emirates, that market requires somebody who is able to deliver the results that we have aspired for in that market. And that person will have very few number of people reporting to her. And so that's how we are looking at the entire thing. And it took us a lot of time. So to find the right people for the right jobs. And if somebody is there in marketing that have better talent for some other role in the company, we would actually help them move there. We had trained people who are classically trained because marketing is evolving so fast. The classical marketers are very good because they understand psychology, sociology, anthropology, design, the brand elements and all this stuff. Then you got performance marketers who are all about testing and learning and experimentation, quantitative ROI, those kind of things. Then you got the technology-led marketers who understand the blockchains and your cybersecurity. You got areas like augmented reality, artificial intelligence, and so on. So each one of these areas we picked and chose the right people for those jobs. And where people were not right, we made changes almost 4 years back or 5 years back. So, and the turnover on my team is extremely low. So we take care of them.
Congratulations. So listen, my final question, obviously we're here in Cannes in this beautiful backdrop, amazing weather, a beautiful villa. What are you hoping to get from Cannes this week?
I would say 5 things. The first and foremost is we have established out here the Mastercard Villa, where we are curating some fine content for a very intimate audience, so to speak. I'm really looking forward to learning a lot and meeting people. So that's number 1. Number 2, there's the Festival of Creativity. And I'm going to take a walk through the, all the creative work and the award-winning stuff. That's something which inspires me quite a lot, and I love it. And number 3, this is a place where I also get to meet some of the excellent talent, for potential hiring into the company down the line. So that's 3. 4th, for me, this is one venue where I have found very, very good vendors who can be wonderful partners for us, whether they are technology people or creative or whichever it is. So that's one thing which I always am looking at. To give time to those folks. And just this morning as well, I met somebody and they got some amazing solutions. And I said, yeah, this is something we should talk. And I'm sure that will materialize into a business opportunity for us and for them. So that's a 4th one. And the last one for me is I've got some of my high-performing team members here. There's also a team-building opportunity for us and for our agencies which work with us. So it's all a bonding time and a celebration time. That's what I think.
Well, listen, I hope you have a wonderful week. It's great to speak to you this morning. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you, Clive. Much appreciated.
Great to meet you.
Thank you so very much. Much appreciated.
Thanks.